I'm here to talk about this week's jackpot with Mshamba. Kwani Mshamba uko wapi?
Niko hapa. Kwani unioni?
Kwani what's the occasion?
Wewe ujui? Si leo tuna introduce millionaires kwa Millionaires Club. Umejua hao ni millionaires tangu ndoto waanze. Angalia, kuna John kutoka Dagoretti, kuna huyu Rose kutoka Ruiru. Unangoja nini? Unaweza kuwa among this list. Ukifanya nini? Cheza Lotto. Ujoin Millionaires Club.
Win every day with Lotto. Play now for a chance to win a guaranteed 200,000 shillings in the daily jackpot tonight. Plus, you can be one of 10 players to take home 10,000 shillings today. You will also get a free chance to win over 1 million shillings this Wednesday. Cheza to Zidi Pamoja. Send 50 shillings to paybill 777 000. Account Ibru. Over 18s only. Gaming can be addictive. Play responsibly. This message has been approved by the BCLB.
Good evening, viewers. Welcome to another show of the Speakers Gallery. Our guest today is Ahmed Hashi. Ahmed Hashi was the spokesman for the Orange Movement during the coalition government, in the run-up to the elections and even after the elections. He served in a number of parastatals in the boards of certain parastatals. He served also as the spokesman for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He is currently doing his own business and is a renowned analyst in a number of media houses. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me, Mheshimiwa. I'm privileged to sit with you as a senior and an elder, and I'm very happy that you invited me today to this show.
Ahmed.
Yes.
We went for the elections of 2007, 2008, January.
Yeah.
We had the post-election violence. There was talk of massive rigging. That was not a transparent election. It was not a free, fair elections. Some people voted, but others counted the votes.
Yeah.
And the ECK, the Electoral Commission of Kenya, came out of it bloodied.
Right.
And the commission itself was disbanded.
Correct.
And the late Kivuitu suffered massively. As a result, his reputation suffered a lot as a result of that election itself. We then went ahead and got into the coalition government. At the time, we were going into the coalition government through the negotiations. You remember, very few people, myself included,
Yeah.
were not too keen
Keen.
with the formation of a coalition government.
Yes.
We wanted a stopgap arrangement, and then we wanted a repeat of the presidential election
Correct.
alone.
Correct.
In the opinion of a number of you, of course, your boss, Raila Odinga, William Ruto, Musalia Mudavadi,
Yes.
and a number of others, the issue was that let us go into this coalition government on a 50-50 basis.
Right.
We will correct all those institutions in this period of time.
Correct.
As a coalition government, a grand coalition government,
Correct.
we'll be able to put in place all the institutions that matter in as far as the development
Yes.
of true democracy in the
Okay.
country is concerned, of human rights, all the vital institutions. 5 years down the line,
Yes.
we had an election again in 2013.
Yes.
And in that election, rigging was more rampant, if not as bad as it was in 2007, 2008. Where did we go wrong?
Thank you for inviting me. I think that the political economy of the nation state in Africa must deal with three things. One is leadership. The ability to take defeat and congratulate a winner is a basic rule in leadership in the modern world today. After 50 years of independence, these are things that we need to take stock of and accept. The second thing is the state and the government. As you know, the state exists and the government is the administration of the state, ought to know that if it is undemocratic and if it does not do the right thing when it comes to electoral issues, sooner or later, the nation state itself goes into turmoil, division, and finally, state collapse. This is what happened in Somalia. And to make matters worse, it was a dictatorship there. It is very critical, Farah Maalim, for us to understand that today's handshake, even though very late, has come not because we've had peaceful existences in Kenya, but because we've had forceful existences, because people have fought. Someone once said, power never gives up anything without a demand. I think that this is an excellent case of the demands of the people of this Kenya, not politicians, but the people and their voting patterns. And Kenya is probably 20 years behind politically where it should be. We always consider ourselves to be a very modern, very progressive, very educated people who have a substantial middle class. But once you take the blanket off the country's history,
The veil.
the veil of the middle class and the education and the Janus face, the rot of Kenya's smell is sky high. And I think that rot started, as I've said, at independence. We did two things wrong in independence. First of all, we excluded northern Kenya from Kenya. That's the first mistake we made. The second mistake we made is we excluded Nyanza from Kenya. The third mistake we made is we excluded the people who liberated this country from Kenya, the Mau Mau or the Land Freedom Party. You know, their land issues are still standing in central Kenya. And then the systematic exclusion began to reach everywhere. And only a small cadre of elite ruled the country and ruled it with impunity. Then one day, many Kenyans woke up and started asking questions. And this led to the second liberation, in which, of course, you're a prominent person in. It led to the Orange Democratic Movement, which was a coalition of all of Kenya, including the current president, President Kenyatta, the current Deputy President, Deputy President William Ruto. The former Prime Minister was the leader. And in 2007, there's no question in the international community's mind and in Kenya that that election was won. It was rigged and taken over. The question that you're now asking me, Farah, is whether Raila Odinga was right or whether he was wrong, and whether his credentials as a leader should be challenged because of the decisions that he made in 2007, 2012, 2013, and so forth and so on. I believe that the coalition government was probably the best government we ever had in this country. Economically, we did really well compared to the first term of Kibaki. The institutions that we were supposed to build, Farah Maalim, you're absolutely right, those institutions did not mature. The deal that we made at Serena did not come to the fore. Today, under the handshake, Kenyans are going to ask that question again. Why are we changing the constitution? The constitution was changed because we wanted to make those institutions work. Why are we doing that again? I mean, it's a legitimate question. We're doing that again because we figured out that the presidential system doesn't work for us. It does not, because the concept of exclusion that keeps coming into the political economy of Kenya's history, even after saying that we created a constitution that did not create an imperial presidency, there was not, the presidency became even more imperial than the other one, because the decisions were being made at State House, and all the problems that we had were not fixed. So we are going to try and fix it again, and this is a continuing journey. Under this new referendum and under the new constitution, the one thing that has changed about this whole issue, that there are no two camps now. The two leaders in this country.
Effectively, you're saying that we do not have opposition in this.
Well, the opposition is in government. to be quite honest.
So there's no opposition. It's
I
all
don't
rolled
think-
into one.
I think that
This is a
government. This is
yes.
a government of national unity. This is there in the British prime ministerial system. Yesterday, the Labour Prime Minister was calling for a government of national unity in England because the Conservatives have only one seat majority in the British Parliament. Raila Odinga had 50% of the country, and President Uhuru had 50% of the country. Raila Odinga was sworn in as a president in Uhuru Park. That creates a whole host of legitimacy issues in this country. Could cause civil war. These two leaders didn't have a choice. They had to show political
We'll come
maturity.
back. We'll come back to the
Yeah.
issue of the handshake.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about the false starts we made in
Yes.
2007, 2008,
Yes, yes.
and that the same mistakes that we thought we were going to cure
Yeah.
in that coalition government were
Yeah.
never cured in 2013.
They were not.
They were never cured in 2017 again.
Yes.
We still had stolen elections.
Yes.
So why do we then go back to the constitution again?
Some of the things were cured.
Yes.
I agree that there's some things were not cured. But the one thing that
The
was
issue of
cured
a
is,
stolen election was not cured.
but we got a new constitution,
We got a new constitution.
which
and
we
if
have
the
been
constitution-
fighting for. You have fought
Yes,
for
yes.
for a very long time.
Yes.
So I think that's a huge milestone.
Yeah.
That's a huge milestone. We had a reformed judiciary. I think that's a huge milestone. I think we added representation to peoples who are marginalized in this country. That's a huge milestone. The Bui went to parliament. Women were represented. Areas that were marginalized.
Youth, the disabled.
Yes.
All those things.
And
Okay.
for the first time, your constituency of county of Garissa received 30 billion, 25 billion Kenya shillings to do development.
Over a period of
5
well,
years.
the counties, say
Yes,
the counties, not just the constituency.
it's never happened.
Yes.
It has never happened. Today in Mandera, we have a women's hospital.
Which effectively also the bulk of it is stolen again. We merely devolved what you call
But
corruption
that's,
again.
that's the responsibility of the elected representatives of
No,
Garissa
I
County.
agree with you.
Yeah.
We probably need quite a lot more time
Yes.
to be able to fix some of
How
these
to govern
institutions
ourselves,
because
yes, yes.
as we keep on going through these
Yes,
problems,
cycles, yes.
we will probably find ways in which we can go around these problems
Yes.
and create the right
Atmosphere for good
atmosphere
governance.
for accountability and
Yeah.
good governance and
Yeah.
the rest of it.
Yeah.
Now, you have a situation in Parliament today in
Yes.
which the leader of the majority
Yeah.
and the leader of the minority
Yeah.
are signing bills together.
Yes. It's unheard of.
Signing bills together.
It's unheard of. It's shocking, actually.
This is a situation in which, yeah, it's a situation in which, you see, the role of democracy itself
Yes.
is the will of the majority,
Yes.
but the right of the minority to be heard. But when you remove that minority itself to be heard and the minority becomes part of the majority,
Yes.
the will of the majority is basically becomes the will of everybody, then you have a dangerous situation.
It's true because the will of the majority was never really determined.
Yes, yes.
That's
you,
the problem.
You have a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
And right now, if Raila Odinga has personified
Yeah.
the face of opposition politics in this country.
Why should Raila Odinga be in the opposition?
Hang on a minute. He had personified for such a long period of time the face of opposition politics in
Yes.
this country.
We're tired of that.
By and large,
Yeah.
the bulk of the time, he had his election robbed.
Yeah.
So in a sense, if the rigging did not take place, he would have been in the government and somebody else would be out there to make the government accountable.
Of course.
Now that he has joined the system,
Yes.
and it looks like everybody is going to join the system,
Yes.
isn't it a situation in which, in the opinion of many radical reformists who all along felt that these were just the same people, same dynasties that were
I see.
basically, you know,
I see.
the case of the chairs.
I see what you're saying. The question you're asking me, Farah Maalin.
I haven't asked the question
Yeah.
yet. You wait for the question.
Okay.
This is just a game. Isn't it also a kind of a blessing in disguise? A piece of luck that has found its way into the Kenyan political discourse, in which all the people who represented everything that was awful about this country since its independence can be in one basket, and then you can have a genuine progressive people coming right now from the working class, the academics, the scholars, the Wanjikus and the Odiambos and the Mohammeds and the Abdis of
Yes.
this world.
Yes.
Isn't it an opportunity for us right now when you have Raila and Uhuru and all of them and Ruto and God knows who and everybody else in the same basket? Then there is going to be an opportunity for a genuine reformist to come into the face of the political discourse in this country?
You're probably right, Farah. And you're much more seasoned, a much more experienced politician than I am. But my view is that we ought to ask, what is the history of governments of national unity since 1945 across the world? And if I could use one example, in 1940, when Churchill was asked to become Prime Minister in England, he invited Clement Attlee, who was the Labour leader, to form a government of national unity.
There was a war.
It was a war.
There was a war.
And Britain was
in a war
yes.
situation.
So
you cannot afford to have opposition.
Britain was in a big problem.
I know.
Kenya is not at where Britain was then, with an army waiting to invade.
In a very bad
but there is an equally bad position. There's an insurrection in the country that is formidable, and it is tribal, and it's very backward, very regressive, and it can raise the nation that we are trying to bring together. And we don't have a choice in this issue. You and I are Somalis. We have neighbors next door. Probably the only country that the white man said would become a nation after he left. That nation is not working, and they're one people, one language, one faith. The one that has had multiple ethnicities with different religions and different languages.
And a better history.
And is working a little better than that. So, Farah, you've got to account for this African...
So we are trying to avoid an implosion.
An implosion in this country.
In this country.
Yes.
And in order to avoid that, we are more or less like the state in which the UK was in 1940.
Yes.
When there was a war with the fascist Nazis.
Yes.
And basically we cannot afford to have
divisions inside
division in the country.
Correct.
We need to bring all the country together.
And the transition
isn't the implosion itself a creation of the same political class? The dynasties in this case?
Yes.
Who, although they were in opposition, always were friends talking to one another in the evenings.
I agree with you.
The competition was a facade.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And is it not because the common man has suffered too long, and it's the only opportunity that the common man can come together right now in a unified format, without looking at region, religion, ethnic, and all that?
I agree with you completely. It is the dynasties of this country, particularly the Kenyatta and the Odinga.
And the Odinga dynasty.
And from
of course, the Moi dynasty.
The Moi dynasty
Kibaki
was a stopgap. But the two protagonists in the political economy of Kenya's politics are the Kenyattas and the Odingas.
Okay.
And each formation, through independence, up to today, has been a formation either holding them apart or following these two dynasties. And it is really a great thing.
For them to come together.
For them to come together. Okay. It is really, for me, it's probably the best thing that ever happened to this country in a very long time.
Probably the best thing, because then the common man is going to understand that the political class only cares about itself.
I really think
and can cut a deal.
Yes, and I really think
that doesn't take into consideration the interests of the common man.
We both know Mr. Kenyatta.
Yes.
We know President Kenyatta.
Yes.
And I think we should give President Kenyatta a lot of
credit.
For
what?
Because he was the younger man, and he reached out to the former Prime Minister.
He reached out to the older man.
He reached out to the older man, and he showed...
But they got us where we are now.
He showed magnanimity.
He showed...
And that is...
He got us where we are.
No, not only him. The Prime Minister, of course, you couldn't...
No. The Prime Minister had no role in the country having a debt that is 3 times what it was only 7 years ago.
Yes, but
we're broke now.
Yes, we're broke.
Yes.
And there's 2 ways to run the economy. Either to go into debt, or to spend, so supply or demand. Kenya was broke. I completely agree with you that we overborrowed. We overborrowed. Every Kenyan agrees with that.
And that money cannot be shown. You can't show a lot
for it.
And
there are huge problems with where that money is.
Corruption, graft, stealing.
And graft. But this handshake...
Why do we blame only number 2? Why don't we blame number 1 also in addition to... Because
I think the buck stops with the president. I think the deputy president works for the president.
Yes.
And the good thing about it is that President Kenyatta is reached out to the former prime minister. And people are going to the courts and are going to jail over massive corruption in this country. People who are untouchable, governors are going. The finance minister was put in front of a court with a chicken thief. I mean... If there's a symbolism of what's going on in this country.
So far, I can tell you, so far, so good.
Yes.
projection, basically.
If President Kenyatta and Mr. Odinga don't do what they're supposed to do, Kenya will be a failed state. I don't think any other country will borrow or will give them money, and our currency will be worthless. We may go the way of Zimbabwe right now. The economy is a disaster. And once there is no food in Kenya, the machetes will come out of the houses.
Of the slums?
Yes, and there will be...
they'll go for everywhere.
No, they'll go for everywhere. So there's a moral responsibility today. Not only a political one, but a legacy responsibility.
The very survival of the state
The
itself.
very survival of this nation state is at stake.
Yes.
And if they do not build that bridge to move us to the next stage where the next generation can take over
Where
power.
is the social component in that Building Bridges initiative? Where is the social component? We can see the political components.
Yeah.
To make it easier for the political class themselves to revalidate themselves. The two-term limit is gone.
Yes.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of going and asking for a removal of the term limit itself, you create a new system altogether where a prime minister, who is the head of the government, will have no term limit.
Yeah.
Many people are saying this is now a ploy to get Uhuru come back again as a prime minister and stay with us for the rest of his life. And Raila to become a ceremonial president in the process.
I don't think we have a choice not to bring back Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta. Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta is a scion of the politics of this country. He commands a large...
You think he's a Shion? He's a credible Shion?
I think so. I think that if he was able to walk across the aisle and put his hand out to Mr. Odinga, something that in his own family was taboo, I think there's great promise in this young president we have. I really believe that. And I've always said that. I don't smoke any more cigarettes. I remember we used to smoke together during the ODM party. We used to smoke cigarettes.
With Uhuru?
With the president.
Yes,
and you were the only two smokers in the building. And I found him to be a very open man. This young man...
He has a good nature.
He has a good nature. There's no doubt about that. He was brought up here in Nairobi.
And a very happy guy.
And a very happy guy. He's got no major problems.
Yes.
And he doesn't have this
but
hang-ups.
that's not all you need to
But that's not what all you need.
To get a functioning government,
now
a functioning economy.
His relationship with Mr. Odinga, this elder statesman now.
Yes.
I think this combination is going to do three things. Or they have to do three things.
Tell me, what is Odinga good at that you say he
Mr.
brings
Odinga
on board?
is going to bring on board.
He's not such a good economist.
Decisiveness.
He has never had, hang on a minute, he has never had such a clean record when it comes to corruption. You remember the May scandal itself and all that we had.
Yes.
You know, all these scandals in ODM nominations and the rest of it, where people always talk about Tuju and God knows who else at some stage in their past say that people literally had to have hands greased for them to get nominations. Me and you know how ODM was.
Let me tell you something, Farah. I stood for the seat of Langata and I won it, and I did not get the nomination.
You never got the nominations given somebody else because you were not able to pay the money.
There was corruption in the party.
Absolutely.
But that's common knowledge. It's in the public domain. But the former prime minister...
even with all those problems, you still think you can find...
you
can sanitize him and still find
the former prime minister, ni mweupe kama pamba.
Right.
This is a very important thing. I'm very passionate about this thing, and a very important thing.
Yes.
I think that we really need a politician in the economic department and not a finance man. And the reason I'm saying this is because the finance people, in every docket who has gone to the finance, who is a finance man,
who's a non-politician,
has failed.
He has made it. Nyachai did such a good job for the short period he was there.
So what I've figured out is that the Ministry of Finance needs a politician, but with very good economic advisors. Very good economic advisors. I think that if we start infrastructural designs in this country and try and build big things in this country, we can create hundreds and hundreds of thousands of jobs in this country. The biggest mistake I think we made is to ask the Chinese to come and build these infrastructure things. Because, and this is a criticism to the government, because I have not seen the jobs that it has produced. Or it has not produced really good jobs. We've got the infrastructure, we've got the railways, we've got all these things. They look very nice. Look, but I don't know if the workers have bought homes from the salaries that they've made.
The Chinese did the thicker
highway.
Thicker superhighway.
Yes. It was a very good thing. But what was the spin-off? There was no spin-off. That's my issue. Where is the spin-off?
The thicker superhighway has got, 70, 80, 100 times, basically paid itself.
Yes.
Many, many more.
And we don't know where the money is yet.
It contributed heavily
Yeah.
to the economy.
Yeah.
Heavily
Yeah.
to the economy.
The spin-offs to people's jobs. Farah Malin is a politician.
The SGR.
When you're being elected in Lagdera, the one thing that people want is education, healthcare, and jobs.
Yes.
These are the three things that every politician has to stand up for in this country. Unemployment in this country.
Jobs by developing what you call agricultural sector, the
It's a
industries,
terrible
the service industry,
deficit.
and all those
Yeah.
ones.
There's
We
a
don't have
terrible
that.
deficit of jobs in this country.
And are we having any growth now?
We don't have any money supply.
Do we have any growth?
The only growth we have is in buildings. You can see the amount of
And
buildings.
nobody's
that are,
able to buy them now. You
and
know, the
nobody's
price has
supposed to
come down.
rent them, and we don't know where this money is coming from or
There
whether
are
it
all
is the
of
money of
offices to
corruption.
let, offices to let, houses to let.
And yes, it's very
and
bad. That's not the
basically-
economy. The economy has to have meat and potatoes, not cement and water. People have to eat the economy. People have to go and work to make money. I think about the circulation of money of the Farah Mali, lack of circulation of money in this country is terrible. People are poor. There's no money in their bank accounts. Something is going wrong, and there needs to be something to be done about this. Something has to be done about this.
Hold on to your thoughts.
Yeah.
We'll have a short commercial break.
Thank you
and
very
we
much.
shall be right back. Viewers, we'll have a short commercial break and shall be right back. Our guest today, for those who are joining us right now, our guest today is Ahmed Hashi, who was a former spokesman for ODM movement, the Orange movement, and was also a spokesman in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and has served in a number of different capacities in the government of Kenya. He is also a renowned political analyst on the major media houses in Kenya. Welcome back, Ahmed
Thank you,
Hashi.
Mheshimiwa Farah
Yes.
Mali.
I cut you short when you were saying we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Where are we getting?
We're going to the promised land.
We're going deeper into the hole, my friend.
No, we're not.
How do you think we're going to pay our debts?
I think that we are going to pleasantly surprise you. I think the government of national unity that is coming is not only going to be about President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. It is going to bring together all Kenyans of every stripe and every ideology. After the referendum, when we go into elections, we are going to build a
That is 3
big
years
government.
away. 3 years away.
Yes, and it is time.
How are we going to live for the next 3 years, my friend? We're broke.
You know, I am not the president of the Republic of Kenya.
We have an ordinary revenue right now that is
Yes.
less than
Yes,
1.5
I
trillion.
just spoke to this issue.
1.5 trillion.
Yes.
Our obligations is in excess of 2 trillion.
Yes. It is a scandal, Farah Maalin, that the economy has gone down,
The way
that the
it is
Ministry of Finance has been
They were telling us all along we've got a growth that is close to 6%.
The
Come.
Ministry of Finance has become a bordello of corruption. Its minister has been charged in a court of law for over 50 to 60 billion Kenya shillings. The claims of dirty money go up than the Ministry of Finance. It's a terrible indictment to the Republic of Kenya. And it is the responsibility of the current man who is now the new star in Kenyan politics, the AG's office, and the new
Director of Public
Prosecution,
Nurdin Haji.
and Mr. Kinoti. Every Kenyan is looking at these two people who have been given the mandate by the president to go after the people's robbers. And yesterday you saw Mr. Kinoti walk up to one of probably the richest people in this country, who's not paid 41 allegedly billion Kenya shillings in taxes.
He arrested him?
I don't know if he's been arrested, but I know that they raided the spirit and whiskey factory, and the man is not in this country, I hear. I think that when we go to the vultures at the very top who are not paying their taxes, and attack those people and say that what you're doing is criminal, and attack those people who are stealing from the public wealth. The great Caliph, Umar bin al-Khattab, radiallahu anhu, probably one of the greatest men in history, who controlled a vast empire during his time, used to walk at night in his city of Medina in people's houses to see if they were hungry or if they were cooking something. That's the level of leadership that was there 1,000 years ago. It is 2019. We have a vast
Millions of people who are going hungry.
countries. Every night children who are very young go to sleep hungry. They don't have school fees. Hopes are dashed. A revolution is born as just much as born in Sudan because a woman could not buy bread for her family. And she tore off her clothes and said, no more. In Kenya, our revolutions turn into bloodbaths because they are always tribal. They're revolutions per se, but they're not peaceful. So these two men have a handshake with history, a rendezvous with destiny. And if they do not cross us over the River Jordan and not let those crocodiles in the sea eat us up, we would have gotten somewhere in this country. And in this region, we're the kingpin. We have to lift this region with us. The economy of Kenya is in Somalia. If this state and this government and this region don't know that they have to build a state in Somalia that is united, that is calm, and that is part and parcel of East Africa, we in Kenya are not going to move anywhere. Their money is in Somalia, the oil is there, the coastlines are there, the investments are there. These unemployed youth in Kenya who are engineers and doctors can go and work in Mogadishu. And
Millions of them.
And they will make a lot of money and bring it back to Kenya. Somalis are bringing to Kenya $2 to $3 billion from outside. They're investing the money that people are using in this country is from the Somali community.
Which isn't the way
This country is now united. The region has to be united. We've got to have a free movement of labor, free movement of...
How is the handshake going to affect that? Because even after the handshake,
Yes.
we're sending them away, we're forcing them to land in Wajir before they come to Nairobi.
Yes.
We're trying to amputate them into everything.
It's a
They are
failure.
relocating now to
Yes.
Addis Ababa, they are relocating to Dar es Salaam, they are relocating to
very bad.
Uganda,
It's
they are
very bad.
relocating to everywhere else except Kenya. And you go to Isli right now today, Isli is not the bustling Isli that you
Farah
did many years
Malin,
back.
maybe
Look
we-
at the roads in Isli.
Maybe, Farah Malin, we should loan you to Somalia for 10 years. You could become the president, and I'm sure everything will work out. Because the problem in Somalia, Farah Malin, as you know, is that there's no political leadership. The people of Somalia are very good people. They're entrepreneurs. They've brought wealth
We're
to
talking
this
about
country.
Kenya now. We're talking
But-
about Kenya now.
We're talking about the impact. The impact. The problem is with their government. It's not with our government. The problem is that
No,
those-
no, there's a maritime dispute in there. And
Yes.
like any other territorial
Yes.
dispute,
Yes, and
who
Kenya-
is going to blink first?
Yeah.
And they're not willing to blink first. They're
Yes.
not willing to blink
Okay,
first.
we're not willing.
Why can't you just wait for the court to determine that matter? If we are so convinced that we're going to lose
Yeah.
at the court level,
Yeah.
then we probably never had a case from the beginning.
I don't think we're
So
we'll go
what
there.
I'm saying is
Yeah.
that what I'm saying is that
Yeah.
wait,
Yeah.
wait Sudan before,
Yeah.
because they know the risk.
Yeah.
If Farmaji were to decide that he's going to withdraw the matter from the court today,
Yeah.
tomorrow he will not be there.
Yep.
You sure about that? Are you not sure about
I
that?
think he should
So,
negotiate.
so what we do if Uhuru also says we're going to withdraw from Dawa, basically we will respect the fact that this territory belongs to Somalia. If he says Uhuru has a problem on
That
the
would be a
ground.
disaster for Kenya.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the best thing is wait until an independent body determines the outcome of this thing, and then whichever way it goes,
Yeah.
go and negotiate on wealth sharing. You see what I mean?
My position.
But then by stopping civil servants from coming and spending a couple of $1,000s in
I
our
don't
own
think
economy
that's
here,
not appropriate.
I mean, what are we gaining?
That's not appropriate. I think what we need to do, the Somali government needs to know that the wealth has to be shared. They need to know that.
Anyway, that's beside the
That's
point
really
right now. I
important.
mean, that probably is for another day.
Yeah.
Not today again. I know the kind of a delicate situation that is.
It's a very delicate
And for an ethnic Somali like you,
It's very
and me,
tough.
It's even more tougher.
Yes.
Because it's a question of a problem between your own sovereignty
Yes.
and your blood on the other end.
Well, my position has always been one. I'm a citizen of the Republic of Kenya, and I'm loyal to the Kenya government and I'm loyal to the state of Kenya. And whatever the president directs us to do is what we're going to do. We cannot have two loyalties in this country. We have
Absolutely,
one
no.
loyalty. We have 50% of the land mass, and we're the fifth largest ethnic group. This is our country. Somalia is not. I'm from Ngong. I mean, every other group in Kenya is represented across the border. That I shouldn't be singled out because I have bigger ears than everybody else. It's just not fair. I'm from Ngong. I speak Swahili and many other languages, and I went to school here. This is
the
my
problem,
country.
The problem and the profiling is also on the other side.
Yes, and we are going to fight
it's
it
not
here.
necessarily so, but we fought it all
Yeah.
our lives.
Yeah.
And basically we have achieved what we
achieved a lot,
so
a
far.
lot, a lot, yeah.
And let me tell you one thing, every Somali who is a Kenyan has got his heart and soul in here.
Yes, absolutely.
And every one of them is praying that there should be an amicable resolution to the
Correct.
contract.
That's
to
what
the
we want.
conflict.
That's what we
the
want.
maritime
That's what we
conflict that's
want.
there. And let's talk about our own country.
Yes.
I mean, that's a little bit distant right now.
Yes.
Now, 6 months down the line,
Yes.
economy is not growing.
Yeah, it's very bad.
People are using their own savings.
Yeah,
County governments are not spending money.
Pending bills have not been released.
Pending bills have never been released, and
Yeah.
so many people ended up in ICUs, others died,
Yeah.
others had their properties auctioned.
Yep.
Where are we 6 months down the line?
We're in a
your
lot of
opinion?
trouble, Farah.
We're in a big trouble.
This country's in big trouble.
How do we resolve that?
I think
We have our children here, we have our homes
one
here,
thing
we don't
we
have
need
any
to
other country.
the one thing we need to do.
Yes. Do they have a blueprint for resolution of that problem?
President Moy used to do it.
Yes.
He used to go to Kabarak and he'd go to Kibera, I hear at night, to go and figure out what was going on there because he tried to know what's going on. I think we need to get the money supply right. The issue of monetary values, of the monetary policy and the money supply in this country. I really think that's really important. I think people need to have
Let's
money.
have more money in circulation.
I think people need money in their pockets.
How?
And how do you get more money in your pockets?
Spend.
The pending bills from the government that contractors have been using, who they've got employed people to do their work, I think should be released immediately.
From where?
It's about 100 billion Kenyan
From
shillings.
where we have a shortfall of 500,
Okay, so
close to 500 billion Kenyan
Yes.
shillings. We have a shortfall.
I know.
We have
And
a
we have
shortfall.
to pay the interest
And we have
for that.
borrowed so hard.
Yes.
And we have a lot of obligations on a quarterly basis.
Correct.
We have to pay the interest. We have to service those
We're
loans.
going to have to borrow some more.
Who is going to allow us to borrow
We're
some
going to
more?
have to negotiate it. President Kenyatta in the next 90 days needs to find either we float a bill, an interest bill into the market, a bond, or we
We
find
float a 100 years bond. For a 50
I
years
don't know.
bond.
The Economist.
There was a country that floated 100 years bond that was oversubscribed.
Yes. So we need to do something short term. You know, you've been in government. Government works short term. It deals with the pending issues today and tomorrow and day after. It deals with the.
It doesn't worry about 2 weeks down the line.
The 2 weeks down the line is too far.
Get it right now.
Get it right now.
So you don't get an uprising.
So you don't get it a problem.
Yes.
So I think the thing about it is we really need to get that done right away. People are
Okay.
crying on the streets.
Another group,
Yes.
critical thinkers,
Yeah.
progressives,
Yes.
reformists in the sense that they always were looking at some kind of a wealth redistribution in the country,
Yes.
right from independence,
Yes.
where they had very radical views on land
Yes.
issues.
Yes.
They still hold even more radical views
Yes.
today, who feel this country should go down the drain.
Yeah.
When we've hit rock bottom,
Yeah.
and we can't go below that,
Yeah.
we've reached the floor,
Yeah.
then maybe we begin now building it
No,
up, or we can have a change. Hang on
I
a minute.
disagree with that.
Hang on a minute. We can have a change, an economic, what they call meltdown,
Yeah.
and then Kenyans will rise up to look for Hashi, look for Maina Kiai, look for God knows who else to come and resolve these issues here. People who are not beholden to any of those powerful wealth that essentially are there. You know, there's richness and there's wealth. I like the way Mutai Nguyen puts it. People who've amassed such a powerful wealth that they own the country itself.
You know, Farah Malin, the Somali community fought in the Mau Mau Land and Freedom
Long
Party.
before
Yes.
before the Mau Mau,
We fought for our freedom
we
here.
fought for our freedom here.
Particularly your community in
My community fought the
Garissa.
British very hard.
Fought him very hard.
Yes.
My uncle and a lot of people fought for the Mau Mau here. We helped. We gave them money. We gave them arms.
You were never recognized.
And the Somali community's contribution to the struggle in this country has not been recognized. That's the
Absolutely.
one. It's a very
Absolutely.
important thing. The second
the
thing
sergeant
is
who was a prison warder in
Yeah.
Naivasha,
Yeah.
who released 10,000. Is it 10,000
Yep.
or one? I can't remember.
A lot of
but a couple of
prisoners.
thousand prisoners
Yep.
in one night.
So Farah Malin,
Nobody has revisited him. There's no statue for him.
I think the history of this
The only
country.
person who talked about it is Mutudo, and I
Yes.
give him a lot of credit for it. Yeah.
So Farah Malin, I think that it's very important for us to know that we have a fundamental contribution and stake in the development and the political progress of Kenya.
And this is the time for us to move in.
And this is very important for us to contribute.
Okay.
And how do we contribute?
Yes.
We must support this handshake. The reason why we're going to support this handshake is because we're going to get members of parliament from northern Kenya, whether they're Borana, whether they're Rendile, whether they're Somali, whether they're Turkana, all the marginalized groups in northern Kenya that the Somalis have always been in a leadership position to lead. I think that we will have a fundamental contribution to make in the National Assembly because the member of parliament is going to be a very powerful person in the next government. Ikuro is a leader. I recognize him as a leader. He's from my
There are
generation.
a number of people who are saying
So-
we might as well give a chance to the Punguza Mzimu.
We first thought we had to hear him out. I don't think
Well, he's doing very well so
we
far.
should not
He's
stomp
doing
on him.
very
This
well
is
so
very
far, but
bad.
there's a
We
competition
should
between the
hear
two.
him out, and if there's lots of good things in it, we should take it. But the thing about it is that we're already given the mandate to the two varied groups.
Whose mandate?
The mandate of ODM and the Jubilee Party, which are the two largest political organizations in this country.
Is that the people's decision?
95% of the people who voted belong to these two parties, Farah Malin.
Yeah, but they
It's
never
not
voted.
the numbers don't
they
lie.
never voted for BBI.
They never voted for
they
BBI,
voted,
but they
had
gave...
no choice. They had to make a choice between Uhuru and Raila. And there's no third choice.
I am more of an idealist, Farah Malin, and I believe in hope. I think hope, if there's no hope,
You're optimist. You're an optimist.
I'm an optimist, and if there's no hope, there is no life. And no matter what heartbreaks we get, we still have to hope.
I agree with you.
And our faith even tells us that we also have to always hope for the
Look,
best.
a number of things that are going that I think have pretty much a good place in our lives.
Yeah.
One, there's a president who many people, majority of Kenyans, feel that he is genuine about this latest struggle.
Yes, everybody feels he's very genuine about this.
He's a blue-eyed, privileged young man himself.
He's a princeling.
He's a princely. You have to have either a revolutionary or a prince to bring about a revolution.
True.
So if you can get this revolution through the prince,
Yeah.
so be it. Why do we deny it? But if it's just facade, and it turns out that the prince is not
Kila
different
mtu atakwenda kwao. If it's a facade, this country will break up into little parts, and maybe new countries will even come out of it. We're not going to accept, nor are we going to stand aside if they do something wrong. But we're going to give them 100% of our support to go and do the right thing. But we'll still be there to watch them
and
do
they have
the
got
right
everybody
thing.
on board.
And they have everybody on board. I want
They
Northern
have-
Kenya,
they have
you're an
Wetangula,
important
and
person in
they
Northern
have-
Kenya, Mr. Farah Malin. It's very important for people like you to see what's practical politics in this issue and bring that constituency home to
I'm very
to the
happy.
handshake.
I've been rigged out of parliament now, I think, God knows how many times.
You'll not be rigged out again.
And
hopefully I'll be
when
in
I
government,
see,
I'll
when
make
I see
sure.
the very riggers who rigged me out are fighting between themselves, I have a problem. I don't know whether to celebrate
Yeah, you know the Kikuyu...
or when I see these battles, and then you look at the long-term effect on the country itself,
yeah.
then we probably will end up in a worse situation than just losing an election.
You know, I am
And I love my country so much.
you know, I love this country very much. You know, I grew up with a lot of people from the Agikuyu and Maasai community here in Gong.
I know.
And
Many people don't know that most of your grandmothers were Kikuyus.
they were not
You know
Kikuyus,
that?
they were from the Ogaden.
Masais and
They
Kikuyus
were
and
from-
Ogadens, of course, from
they
there.
were from the Ogaden community.
The so-called the urban Somalis
Yes.
who came from...
Most of our grandmothers are from the Ogaden community, and they're in our homes today.
there are also
They're
some
watching.
Kikuyu ones like the Shayas.
There's
and,
one
you know,
or two, yes. There's
No,
definitely.
there are more than that.
That happens. That happens.
family,
That happens.
I know.
That you know,
I
in
know.
a community where you
Masai,
also...
I all know, even know of all men who died
Yes.
many years back at a very advanced age, whose mothers were Masai.
Yes, there's some people who did this, and that's a good thing. I don't think there's anything bad with that. But
We started all the major urban centers.
yes,
by the way.
we did. We
Including
started all,
Murang'a,
including Murang'a, all these
Nyeri,
places. Yeah.
Maragua,
Yes.
and then go up Eldoret, Kitale,
yeah.
Kambia, Somali. in each one
Yes,
of them.
yes.
Yes.
We were there at the founding.
Kiambu, for your
We
information.
were here at the founding of the nation.
You remember this family, the Awale family
Yes.
of Kiambu?
Yes. So you know, they have a saying in that language, and it says which
The young man who was in KCA, Kenya Kikuyu Central Association on the left
yes,
side.
that's my uncle.
That was your
Yes, my
No,
grandfather.
that was your
Yeah,
grandfather.
my grandfather's uncle.
Yeah.
He's called Mohammed Hassan Jibili.
Mohammed
Mohammed Hassan
Jibili,
was
yes.
one of the founders of this country.
Of the KCA.
Yes,
Kikuyu Central Association.
The Kenya African Union.
Yes, and a very rich guy.
And the day that the
At the
Kapiguria
time, he
6,
was very rich, and he
when-
lost his property.
when the
because he
Kapiguria 6
supported the Mau Mau.
were arrested,
Yes.
they were arrested at his house.
Yes.
And he was sentenced to death.
Yes.
The other ones were sentenced to life imprisonment.
Yes, yes, yes.
So there's a huge contribution that the Somali community has made.
which the Kenyatas and everybody else never revisited.
They know about it.
No,
I know for a
but
fact they
knowledge
know.
is not as good as
They
recognizing
need,
it.
and they need to recognize it.
Yeah,
And
because they wanted to have monopoly of that.
And I think these families should be given MBEs, and they should be given all these people.
They were never
who-
given.
who
They were never
fought
given.
For this country should.
And
should
we shall
get it.
never forgive them for that.
On
Let
a
me
last
tell you
note,
one
I
thing.
know we're winding
Yes.
up. My last comments. First, I
No,
wanna-
you don't wind up until I tell you to
Yes,
wind
sir.
up. Just go on.
First of all, I'm really happy to be right here. It's a privilege for me that you invited me.
Yes.
I'm very happy about it, especially from a senior politician like you. I think, Mr. Maalin, our future and our stakes were made by our grandfathers in this land.
Our patriotism must be
We have to be very
undivided.
undivided. We have to be very
100%,
patriotic,
yes,
and we
yes.
have to help these two gentlemen to try and bring home the chicken.
all the forces.
And
let's
all
not
the
confine,
other,
let's
and
not
all the
confine
other-
ourselves to two
Of
gentlemen.
course, I'm just
All
using
the
them as a
progressive
symbol.
forces, yes.
But these two are the banners. They're holding the banner
Yeah.
for the country,
Yeah.
and all of us have a responsibility not to follow them blindly, but to follow them as a way of helping the country.
Yeah.
They're not angels. They're human beings just like you and I, but their words and their actions have huge repercussions in this country. And if they do the right thing, much of the country will also do the right thing. And this is unfortunate. It's the way things are in this country. My concern is for them to pass on the baton to the next generation.
Who do you see as the most deserving to be the next Prime Minister of this country?
Well, I think that Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta is probably one of the most powerful men in this country.
And he deserves to be.
And not only does he deserve to be, I think that without him, we will not build that bridge to the next dispensation.
So then basically you think because he is the architect of these new changes,
Yes.
he should be given 5 years to see to it that the changes are
To see
actually
it
properly
through.
in place.
Yes.
In
Him
place,
and
in place.
Mr. Raila Odinga.
The way Kibaki and Odinga,
And Odinga worked.
needed to
Yes.
be there to see the
I agree with
operationalization
you
of the constitution.
completely. I agree
of
with you
210.
completely. I agree with you completely. Completely. I
But he
agree
does,
with you.
if he doesn't want,
I don't think that if I am asked by President Uhuru Kenyatta today to do something for this country that I can say no. And I don't think that President Uhuru Kenyatta, if
he's
asked
just
by
about
the
to ask you
people,
to, yes.
the people of this country to ask him to do something, he cannot say no because it will be big trouble.
Just in case.
Yes,
Just in case.
yes,
Kenyatta is not there.
yes,
Raila is a little bit too old for it now.
yes,
And will be happy to be a president.
yes,
Whatever the powers are going to be, certain limited powers.
yes.
Who else do you have in mind who can
You,
become a
Farah
Prime Minister?
Maalin, why not you? We would be very proud to have you as our next Prime Minister.
Excluding Farah Maalin, who else?
We would be very happy to have you. Of course, I'd be the first person to get a job. But all kidding aside, I think that I don't think he's going to say no, and I think that his backyard
So this
doesn't
change is
doesn't
all
have
about him.
his backyard doesn't have another political leader. All the old men who used to advise him from the Council of Elders, they all died. Mishuki. All the men who told him, the only person left is Kibaki. And Kibaki is playing golf now. He just doesn't want to be in politics. He's done his part, and he's right. He deserves a break. This man has been in public service for 60 years. He should be away from public service.
Yeah.
But I think that the two have such different styles of government.
Management.
And I really fought against Kibaki. But after I did, I came to respect two people in government. And that's Mwai Kibaki and John Mishuki. I was a young man, and I did not, I wasn't mature yet, but I came to see how they worked. And you know, one of the most impressive things that I saw about John Mishuki is the Nairobi River.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw fish in the Nairobi River,
He
and
was-
I was so impressed with that
He
man.
was
I was really impressed with him.
a man of very powerful contradictions.
Yes, very contradictory, but he did his job.
He was a very a stickler for
rules.
efficiency.
Yeah,
and rules.
efficient. I really liked that about him.
And he did his job very well.
What I liked about
But he was
President-
also a cheap
He had a lot of problems.
He was an ethnicist. I
Yes.
remember very well.
That's true.
In his ministry, when
yeah.
he was in the environment,
Yes.
a guy who was not from his community
Yeah.
came as a number one in the interview.
Yes, I know all about that.
Heads and shoulders above all the rest. But he said, over my dead body, he has to be somebody from Central Province.
Yes.
So he was a
He's got problems.
tribalist.
Everybody has
Powerful
problems,
tribalist in his
but
own right.
there's a good side and bad side to everyone. There's a good side.
Well,
to
if you can get good services, sometimes you don't
Yeah,
care. You don't have to be in the government
they have to
anyway.
be the government. And
to
President
succeed,
Kenyatta,
yes.
President Raila
Kenyatta
Odinga-
was powerful in his own right. I
Yes.
mean, he was in a different times altogether.
Yes.
But he was also a stickler for efficiency.
Yes.
There's no question about that. Kibaki was equally.
Yes.
So basically,
I think he oversaw
a number of
huge-
people. Yeah,
I think
a number of
Kibaki did
people were
a
there.
really good job with the coalition
Yeah.
government.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen a better government than the coalition government.
I am going to now ask you,
Yes.
if you had to serve this country all over again,
Yeah.
where do you think you can serve this country best?
Well, I think I would serve this country best in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Where you are the spokesman.
I love foreign affairs. I love
To
diplomacy.
sell this country
I love to sell this country.
in the rest of the world.
People think I'm very articulate about Kenya, and I think that would help in giving a face to the country. I think that would be a great place for me to serve. However, anybody, I serve at the pleasure of leaders like yourself, Farah Malin, when you get into government, and you take talent and say, this is where we want you.
Yeah.
And hopefully they...
Not because you have been assisting somebody in the elections, no, but because you can
I
make
think
a
we
change.
need to
make a
take,
change.
I need to take the best and the
Make a
brightest.
difference
We
in a
need to
place,
take the
yes.
best and the brightest.
Now,
yeah.
finally,
Yes.
look at this camera here.
Yes.
Talk to Kenyans and give them your parting shots.
My parting shot is that each Kenyan should expect three things from the government. One is that the government has to give citizens jobs. Citizens need jobs so that they can live dignified lives in their country. The second thing that we expect is for government to be free of corruption, so that the money that we pay as taxpayers goes into legitimate institutions that will help citizens negotiate life. And the last thing is for there to be a commitment to the living spirit of this country. This country is a wonderful country. If it gets the right leadership and if it gets the right path, Kenyans can lead Eastern Africa into a better situation.
Better Karan.
And we have to pull a lot of countries with us. But we have to get it right before we try and pull all the other countries with us. And that's my parting shot. Yeah.
You couldn't have put it better.
Yeah. Thank you so
very
much for inviting me, Mheshimiwa.
Always a
Nimefurahi
pleasure
sana
talking to
kukuona.
you.
Asante sana.
Always a pleasure
Jazakallah
talking to you, Ahmed
Jazakallah
Hashi.
khair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Viewers, we have come to the end of the show. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.